Hi everyone, and welcome back to Sadiq Maths 6-7. In today's video, we're revising key topics from the SAVVAS EnVision mathematics program, specifically lessons 5-5, 6-2, and 8-2. These lessons focus on unit rates, converting between fractions, decimals and percentages, and summarizing data using mean, median and mode. Now let's look at question 1. It says a ratio that compares two quantities measured in different units is called a what? When we have two different units, it's called a rate. It's a special type of ratio. Let's write rate over here. Rate. When a rate is simplified so that it has a denominator of 1 unit, it is called a unit rate. Now when you have two quantities and one of the quantities is 1 and you have different units, it's called a unit rate. Question 3. 60 kilometers per 2 hours is an example of a unit rate. Is that true or false? As I said before, here we've got two different units. We've got kilometers and hours. One of the quantities is 60 and the other is 2. Do we have 1 as a quantity in either of those? No, so the answer is false. Number 4. Explain in your own words what unit price means when shopping at the grocery store. It just means the cost of one single item, price per item. Number 5. If a recipe calls for 3 cups of flour for every 2 cups of sugar, the something of flour to sugar is 3:2. Now, in our previous lessons, you should have seen that 3:2. Or if you see 3 colon 2, it's a ratio. So that means that's the ratio of flour to sugar. Okay, moving on. Question 6. A fruit basket contains 15 apples and 20 oranges. Write the ratio of apples to oranges. And it says in its simplest form. We're going to do that later. So let's write the ratio of apples to oranges. So we have 15 apples to every 20 oranges. Now, it says it wants it in the simplest form, so we're going to try and find the highest common factor and then divide both quantities by the highest common factor. So 15 and 20, the highest common factor of both of those is 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, and so we're dividing by 5, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. Question 7. In a classroom there are 14 boys and 21 girls. Write the ratio, read it carefully, boys to total number of students. So number of boys is 14. Total number of students, so we'll be adding the boys and the girls. 14 plus 21 is 35. The highest common factor here is 7, so we're going to divide both quantities by 7. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. 35 divided by 7 is 5. So the answer is 2 to 5. Question number 8. A local market in Riyadh sells 4 kilograms of premium dates for 60 riyals, Saudi riyals. What is the unit rate price per kilogram? Now, when we're looking at rates, we've got 1 unit here, we've got kilograms, and we've got Saudi riyals. The unit we want 1 of usually goes at the bottom of the fraction. So let's draw a fraction bar. what do we want one of? We want to find out the price of 1 kilogram per kilogram. We want to find out the price of 1 kilogram. So I'm going to put kilograms at the bottom for kg. I'm just going to put kg for short. And I'm going to put 60 Saudi riyals at the top. So all we have to do is divide 60 by 4 and we get 15. You can still write it as a fraction if you want, or you could just say 15 Saudi riyals. Okay, I'm writing off the sheet. So let's just write it down here. 15 Saudi riyals per 1 kg, because 15 is the same as saying 15 over 1. Next one, number 9. A runner completes 12 kilometers in 2/3 of an hour. What is the runner's unit rate in kilometers per hour? So again, we're looking at rates. You got kilometers, you got hours. Which one is going to go at the bottom of the fraction? Which one do we want one of? We want it per hour. So hours are going to go at the bottom. So we're going to draw a fraction bar. We're going to write the quantity that we want at the bottom. We've got 2/3 and we've got 12 kilometers at the top. Now 12 over 2/3 is the same as saying 12 divided by 2/3. Now easiest way to solve this would be to convert this into a fraction. We're just going to have it over 1, because any number can be converted to a fraction by having it over 1. And then we're going to do our KFC or KCF. So keep, flip, change. I've told you the reasons behind this is that we said that dividing by number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So here we're going to keep change flip. So keep the first fraction, change the sign to multiplication, and get the reciprocal of 2/3, which is 3/2, or 3 over 2. 12 times 3 is 36, and 1 times 2 is 2. 36 divided by 2 is 18. So 18 kilometers per hour. Now, there is an easier way to do this. So we could, if you imagine you have 2/3 of an hour. In order to make a full hour, we need the last third. So it said 2/3 of an hour is 12 kilometers. Now, if 2/3 is 12, that means 1/3 is going to be 6. And if that's 6, this would be 6, this would be 6. So how many kilometers do we have in an hour? 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. So here we end up with 18. That's another way we could do it as well. Let's move on to question 10. An aeroplane travels 2,400 kilometers in 3 hours. How far does the aeroplane travel in 1 hour? The quantity we want one of at the bottom of the fraction again. So we're going to draw a fraction bar, have 3 hours over here, 3 hours, and have 2,400 kilometers at the top of the fraction. So kilometers. I'm going to write km for short. What's 2,400 divided by 3? Well, let's do 224 divided by 3 first, which is 8. And then add the 2 zeros. So that's 800 kilometers per hour. I'm writing it like this, but it's the same as saying 800 kilometers I'm just writing a fraction, but I'm just writing differently per 1 hour. Now, let's move on to question 11. In a local parking lot, the ratio of cars to trucks is 4:7. What does this ratio mean? Does it mean there are only 4 cars and 7 trucks in total? Does it mean for every 4 cars there are 7 trucks? There are 7 cars for every 4 trucks. There are 11 vehicles in the parking lot. So the answer is B, because what it means is that it's showing the relationship between the cars and the trucks. For every 4 cars, there's 7 trucks, because this ratio could have been scaled down. So we can't just say there's 11 vehicles in total, because it could have been scaled down. But what it's trying to show you is the relationship between the cars and the trucks. Now let's move on to question 12. A machine can fill 24 bottles of water in 1/4 of a minute. What is the unit rate in bottles per minute? Now, so let's put 1/4 at the bottom of the fraction bar, and we're going to put 24 on top. Now, this could be written as 24 divided by 1/4. Now, in order to calculate this more easily, we're going to change this into a fraction by having it over 1. Then we're going to do our KFC or KCF, keep, flip, change, or keep, change, flip. Now let's keep the first fraction. Change the operation to multiplication and flip the second fraction. So we end up with 24 times 4, which is 96. 1 times 1, which is 1. So 96 bottles in 1 minute. Another way we could have done this is draw a fraction bar and split it into 4. We know that 1/4 is 24. Is 24 bottles. So if 1/4 is 24 bottles, 2/4 are going to be 48. Let's just write 24 in here. And 4/4 are going to be 96 bottles. So we could have just done 24 times 4, which is 96. Let's move on to question 13. So question 13 says, which of the following represents a unit rate? Now we said the unit rate, one of the quantities has to be 1. So we're just going to look for a quantity, one of the quantities that is 1. 15 and 30, 104. We've got 50 and 2, nope. So we've got 25 per minute. Per minute means for 1 minute. So that means our answer is B. Number 14. If a pack of 6 notebooks costs 18 reals, what is the cost of 1 notebook? Okay, so again, the quantity we want 1 of, put it at the bottom of the fraction. So we've got 6 notebooks and we have 18 Saudi riyals. So 18 divided by 6 is 3. So what that means is it's 3 Saudi riyals for 1 notebook. Okay. So the answer is B. Question 15. The word percent literally means per 100. Let's just write that here, 100. Percentages are out of 100. It means an amount out of 100. Now, question 16. To convert a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100. We multiply by 100 because percent means per 100. So we're converting the decimal into how many parts out of 100. So for example, if we had 0.37, same as saying 37 over 100 or out of 100. Now, when we multiply by 100, so when we multiply this by 100, what we're essentially doing is we're finding out how many parts out of 100 the decimal represents. So if you multiply this by 100, we end up with 37 over 1, which is 37%. Let's move on to question 17. So the fraction 1/2, the decimal 0.5, and the percent 50% are all equivalent. That is true. Number 18, what mathematical operation does a fraction bar represent when converting a fraction to a decimal? It represents division. Number 19, which vocabulary term describes numbers that have the same value but are written in different forms? And the answer is equivalent. Equivalent. Number 20. Convert 3/8 into both a decimal and a percentage. Show the division step. Now, there are a few ways to do this. I prefer to keep it as a fraction and scale the denominator up to be 100, because when we have a number over 100, it's easier to convert it to a percentage, because percentages are out of 100. So we've got 3/8. What can I multiply the denominator by to get to 100? Now, if I were to multiply anything by 8, I would have to multiply it by a decimal number. So I'm going to scale it down first and then scale up. So I just start by dividing by 2. So let's just divide this by 2. See what it gives us. So 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now, what can we multiply 4 by to get to 100? Multiplying by 25 would get us to 100. And if you multiply this by 25, so 25 plus half of 25. What's half of 25? Half of 25 is 12.5. So 25 plus 12.5 would be 37. So it equals 37.5 over 100. And there we have our percentage, because anything out of 100, we can write it as a percentage, which is 37.5%. There is another way we could do this. So we could just do the divisions. Let's just remove this. So we could just do the division of 3 divided by 8. So let's have it like this. So how many 8s go into 3? 8 can't go into 3, so we're going to put a decimal point. I'm going to add a 0. So we could add as many zeros as we want after the decimal point here. Now 8 into 30 go 3 times. So let's not forget our decimal point here. So 8 times 3 is 24. We're going to subtract it. 30 minus 24 is 6. Then we're just going to add a 0 here. Keep on adding zeros. So 8 into 60. 8 into 60 goes 7 times. So 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. Again, we're going to add another 0 here. 8 into 40 is 5. 8 times 5 is 40, and that's where we stop. So our answer what we got here is 0.375. Let's just write this here. So 0.375 is the same as saying 375 over 1,000. Because we've got 3 decimal places, right? And this 5 is in the thousandth column. So we need it over 100. So what do we need to do, to get it over 100? So we divide the numerator and denominator by 10. So we end up with 37.5 over 100, which we know is 37.5% because it's out of 100. A student scored 85% on a math quiz. We said percentages are out of 100, so we can write it as 85 over 100. And it said write this percentage as a fraction in its simplest form. Now, if you don't know what the highest common factor is, we can just keep on dividing it by numbers that they both divide into. So I know that they're both divisible by 5. So let's divide it by 5. So we end up with 17 over 20. Can it be simplified further? No, because 17 is a prime number. Now let's move on to question 22. We could look at the digits. So this is in the 10th column and this is in the 100th column. So 45 hundredths. So 45 over 100. And we're going to simplify that by dividing by the highest common factor, which is 5. So we end up with 9 over 20, 9/20. And as a percentage, 45 over is out of 100. So an amount out of 100 is a percentage. So we can just say 45%. Let's look at question 23. It says a student answered 18 out of 20 questions correctly on a test. Convert this score into a fraction. So they scored, let's just say 18 out of 20. Let's just write this down. That's what they scored. So we've got it as a fraction. They didn't say in its simplest form, but we're just going to put it in its simplest form. So if I'm struggling to find the highest common factor, let's just divide it by 2. So we end up with 9 over 9/10 is simplest form. And now that we've got 9/10, we could write the decimal as 0.9. We're just writing the 9 in the 10th column. 0.9. Because if you look at the place value table, the 10th column is after the decimal point. And as a percentage, well, let's just say that 9/10 we can convert the denominator to be out of 100 by multiplying by 10. So we end up with 90 over 100. Now it's easy for us to write our percentage, which is 90%. Let's move on to question 24. So it says, which decimal is equivalent to 72%? Now, when we've got a percentage, again, it's easier to convert it to a fraction first and then convert it to a decimal. So we know percentages are out of 100, so 72 out of 100, which is the same as saying 72 divided by 100 actually. So we've got a decimal point here, 1, 2. Decimal point goes there, so we end up with 0.72, which is B. Next question, question 25. Which fraction is equivalent to 0.05? Now, if we look at the 5, it's in the hundredths column, so we could say 5 hundredths. And if we say 5 hundredths, we've got a fraction, but we can still simplify that by dividing both of them by a common factor, which is 5. So we end up with 1/20th. So 1 over 20. Next one, to question number 26. What is 3/4 written as a percent? Okay, so we've got 3/4. Again, if we want to write a percentage, try and get the denominator to be 100. What can we multiply 4 by to get to 100? We can multiply it by 25. So if we multiply the denominator by 25, we've got to multiply the numerator by 25. So we end up with 75 over 100, which is just 75%. So the answer is B. Now we're looking at lesson 8-2. Question number 27. The something is a sum of the data values divided by the number of data values. So that is the mean. To find the something, order the data and find the middle value, middle median. So the median. The value that occurs most often in the data set is called the mode. It's the most frequent value. A data set can have more than one mode or no mode at all. That is true. For example, if I had the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what number occurs the most here? Which value is most frequent? None of them. So we've got no mode. And if I added a 1 and a 7 to my data set, what would the mode be? It would be 1 and 7. Okay, so next one. So question 31. Mean, median, and mode are measures of what? So mean, median, and mode are measures of the center or central tendency. Now these are used to find a central point in a data set. So but basically what we're looking at is a number that represents the rest of the numbers. We're trying to capture the middle. The middle value. Okay, let's move on to question 32. A data value that is much higher or lower than the others is called a what? So it's very different from the others. There's a huge discrepancy between the values. What is it called? It's called an outlier. It lies outside of the normal data range. Let's move on to question 33. It says find the mean, median, and mode. Make sure you show you're working out. So we know that mean is the sum of the values divided by how many there are. So we're going to do 85 plus 90 plus 85 plus 100 plus 95 divided by how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5, which equals 455 over 5. And 455 divided by 5 gives you 91. So the mean equals 91. It's asked you to find the mode as well. So the mode is quite easy to find. Let's see which number occurs the most. We've got two 85s. So the mode equals 85. Now, in order to find the the median, we first need to put the numbers in order. Now, I usually put it from smallest to largest. You could put it from largest to smallest, up to you. So let's rearrange numbers and put them in order. So we have 85, 85, 90, 95, and 100. Where's the middle number here? So let's tick them off, from either side, so we don't make a mistake. So the median is 90. Now let's move on to question 34. Question 34 is a question that requires some thinking. Now, we know that the sum of the values divided by how many there are equals a mean. So it's the mean of 4 numbers is 15. 3 numbers are 10, 12, and 20. So we've got 10 plus 12 plus 20 plus a fourth number. We're just going to call that n. And we're going to divide by how many there are. There are 4 numbers, which equals, so it's saying the mean is 15. So the mean is 15. We don't know what the fourth number is, so I've given it a letter n. You can give it any variable. Now we're going to have to rearrange this equation. We want to get rid of the fraction first, so we want to get rid of the 4 at the bottom. We do the inverse operation of dividing by 4, so we multiply by 4. So we multiply both sides by 4. We end up with 10 plus 12 plus 20 plus n equals 60. 15 times 4 is 60. Now, we could add all of these together. 10 plus 12 plus 20, which equals 42. Let's just do our working out here. There's no space at the bottom. So we end up with 42 plus n equals 60. Now, I want to get n by itself. So what do I do here? Again, we do the inverse operation. What's the inverse operation of plus 42? It's minus 42, so minus 42 from both sides, and then we end up with 42 minus 42 is just 0, so n equals 18. You won't be tested on that in the exam, but I thought I'd give you a mathematical reasoning question. And let's look at question 35. It says find the mean, median, and mode again. So let's just find the mode first. I think that's the easiest. 35, 38, 35, 40, 42. Do any of those numbers occur more than once? No. So we're just going to say, yeah, they do, actually. 35, I didn't even see that. So 35 is the mode. The equal sign just means is. So 35 is the mode. Let's do the mean next. So we're going to, it's the sum of all the numbers divided by how many there are. So 35 plus 38 plus 35 plus 40 plus 42 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 equals 190 divided by 5, which is 190 divided by 5 is 38. So 38 is the mean. Now, again, in order to find a median, we've got to put the numbers in order. So we have 35, then we've got 35 again. What comes next is 38, then 40, then 42. I'm going to strike off the numbers from both sides. 1, 2, and we end up with 38 in the middle. So our answer is 38. So that's the median. Let's move on to question 36. Oh, here it says just find the median and the range. Now I'm going to start off with the median first. So let's put it in order so that our first number is 8, then 10, then 12, then 14, 16, and I don't know what that is. That looks like a 3. It should be a 2, and 22. So it said find the middle number. So let's strike them off. 1, 2. So 1, 2, and we're left with 2 numbers in the middle. Now what do? Now we want to find the value that's between 12 and 14. In order to do that, you probably have said the answer, which is 13, but in order to do that, in case we've got values that it's not easy to find the value between those 2 numbers, we're going to add them together and divide by 2. So we end up with 12 plus 14 is 26. Divide by 2, which is 13. So 13 is equals means is 13 is the median. Now the range is a maximum value minus the minimum value, which basically means the smallest number, so the biggest number minus the smallest number. So the biggest number here is 22. We could see that from when we rearranged our numbers. And the smallest number is 8. So 22 minus 8 is 14. Okay, we've got another 3 questions left only. So question 37. What is the median of 41739? Let's just put that in order very quickly. 1, 3, 4, 7, 9. Our middle number is 4, so that's the median. Next one. Okay, that's B. Which, by the way, try and do your working out, because I will give marks just for the working out. So now, to question 38, which measure represents the value that appears most frequent? And that is the mode. Last question. Which data set has a mode of 5? Now I'm going to be looking at any data set which has 5 reoccurring. So it's got 1 5 here only. It's got 1 5 here. 2 5s here. Oh wow. And 2 5s here. So which one do I choose? Is it C and D, or is it just C? Oh, the mode is not 5 for D because it has 3 1. So the mode here would be 1. So the mode here is 1. Let's just put equals 1. And the mode here is 5. So the answer is C. Thank you guys very much. I know it was a long video, but I hope it helps. Don't forget to ask me any questions in the comments or in person, and I'll see you on my next video. Goodbye.